Hello, eighth grade remote students. I am back to do Act 3, Scene 1. We are going to do some reviewing before we start. So, the last thing that happened, we finished up Act 2. Romeo and Juliet met again and made plans to marry each other. They asked Friar Lawrence to marry them. He agreed to marry them to hopefully end the feud. We had a little run-in between Mercutio and Benvolio. They were mad at Romeo for ditching him to go see Juliet. The nurse and Romeo made some plans to get Romeo and Juliet married, and they are planning on spending the night together as well. And the nurse helped out with that process. The nurse goes back in scene 5 and tells Juliet the news that she is going to be married. She takes a little time to tell her, but eventually does tell her. And then scene 6, they got married, and Friar Lawrence married them, and it was off stage. So today we're gonna do Act 3, Scene 1. So in this scene, the are in the streets of Verona. It's Monday afternoon. It's about an hour after Romeo and Juliet have gotten married. And in this scene, we have Benvolio, Mercutio, Mercutio's page, Tybalt, Romeo, citizen of the Watchmen, the prince is going to be in there, and Lord and Lady Capulet, as well as Lord and Lady Montague. Got a lot of people on this one. So this is after the party and after Romeo and Juliet have gotten married, and it's a hot day. It's the middle of the day. It's 4 p.m. on the Monday. Keep in mind, this is still only a couple of days after the beginning of the play. Benvolio looks over at his friend, Mercutio, and says, I pray thee, good Mercutio, let's retire. Let's go home and rest. The day is hot, the Capulets are about, and if we meet, we shall not escape a brawl, for these hot days stir the mad blood. So Benvolio says, it's a hot day, let's go home and rest. The Capulets are around Verona, and if we meet them, we're going to fight them. So let's go home and retire and rest. Mercutio says, "Come, come, thou art as hot as any man in Italy." He says, "You're just as angry as any man in Italy. Were there two of you, there would soon be none, for one of you would kill the other. Thou wilt quarrel with a man that hath a hair more or a hair less in his beard than thou hast. Thy head is as full of quarrels as an egg is full of meat, and yet thou wilt tell me to quit quarreling." He's like, "Don't tell me to stop fighting. You like to fight just as much as the next person." Benvolio says, "I am not as apt to fight as thou art. I am not as likely to fight as you are," he says. Now our villain, Tybalt, comes in, as well as the other Capulets, and Benvolio says, "By my head, O God, here come the Capulets." Mercutio says, "By my heel, I care not." Basically, he says he does not care about them coming into the scene. So right now we've got some Montagues, we've got some Capulets, and they are about to um, come in contact with each other. Tybalt says to the other Capulets, "Follow me close, for I will speak to them." Then he says to Benvolio and Mercutio, "Gentlemen, good Ian, good evening. A word with one of you." He says, "Can I have a word with one of you?" Remember, these are Capulets. Tybalt is a Capulet. This is Juliet's cousin, and these are Montagues. So they do not get along. And Tybalt has a thing against. Oops, I think I went too far. Tybalt has a thing against Romeo. He wants to fight Romeo and kill Romeo already. So these are Romeo's friends, and they are going to protect him. Mercutio says, "Only one word with one of us, couple it with something, make it a word and a blow." So basically, he just challenged Tybalt to a fight. Tybalt says, "You shall find me apt enough to that, sir, if you give me reason." He's like, "Yep, I'll fight you." Mercutio says, "Could you not take some reason without me giving one?" Tybalt says, "Mercutio, thou consortest with Romeo." So this is meant to be an insult. You hang out with Romeo. He's kind of insulting Romeo and saying that Romeo is someone bad. Mercutio is actually a royal character. He is related to the prince, so he is, of a higher social status than Romeo. So Tybalt is um, insulting Mercutio for hanging out with Romeo. Mercutio gets offended by this. He's offending his friend. He's, saying his friend is of lower social status. Mercutio says, "Consort, what dost thou make us minstrels? Do you make us like silly clowns, basically? If thou make minstrels of us, thou wilt hear nothing but discord." Now he draws his sword. He gets upset because Tybalt is making fun of him and Romeo. He says, "Here's my fiddlestick, and it shall make thee dance. Zounds, consort." So he says, "Are you kidding me?" This is kind of the stature that Mercutio gets in this scene. He gets offended by Tybalt's insults and draws his sword on Tybalt. Benvolio warns these two because they're about to fight right now. Benvolio is our peacekeeper. He says, "Remember that we talk in public. Let us either withdraw into some private place and discuss your grievances calmly, or else depart. Here all eyes gaze on us." He says, "Why don't we go somewhere else and talk about this? We're talking in public. Like, let's not get in trouble. Let's move on." Mercutio says, "Men's eyes were made to look, and let them gaze. I will not budge for no man's pleasure eye." So Mercutio says, "No, I'm going to fight these guys. I'm going to fight these Capulets." And now Romeo enters, and this is who Tybalt really wants to talk to. Tybalt says, "Well, peace be with you, sir. Here comes my man. Here comes the man I'm looking for." Mercutio says, "He is not thy man." Tybalt turns to Romeo and says, "Romeo, the love I bear thee can afford no better term than this. Thou art a villain." He says, "This is how I feel about you. You are a villain." He goes right to Romeo and insults him. He hates him. Romeo says, "Tybalt, the reason that I have to love thee outweighs the rage I should feel at such a grating. Villain am I none, therefore farewell. I see thou knowest me not." So he says to Tybalt, "I love you, and you have no idea why, but we are now related. They're family now because this is Juliet's cousin. And so they have now become family because Romeo has married Juliet." So he says, "I'm going to ignore your insult because now we are cousins and I love you because you're my family now. I'm not a villain. Therefore, farewell, goodbye. I see you don't really know me." Tybalt says, "Boy, your words now shall not excuse the injuries that thou hast done me. Therefore, turn and draw." So Tybalt says, "You've done me a lot of injuries in the past, a lot of damage, and therefore I want to fight you. Turn and draw." Romeo says, "I do protest I never injured thee, but love thee better than thou canst guess, until thou shalt know the reason of my love. And so, good Capulet, which name I hold as dear as my own, be satisfied." Romeo says, "I never injured you, I never did anything to you, and I love you now because you're family. You don't know this yet, but you're my family." And he says, "Please be satisfied. Let's not fight." Mercutio, hearing this, wants to fight. He was already ready to fight. So he says, "Thy calm is dishonorable, thy submission vile." He draws his sword. He decides to fight Tybalt in place of Romeo. Romeo's trying not to fight. Mercutio just jumps in and says, "All right, Tybalt, I'll fight you instead." Tybalt, "You rat, will you fight?" he says. So he challenges Tybalt to a fight. So Romeo was about to get into a fight. His friend Mercutio just jumped in and took on the fight for him. Tybalt says, "I am for you," and draws his sword. So now we've got a situation where Romeo's friend Mercutio and his enemy Tybalt are fighting. And here's a picture of them down here. Romeo's over here saying, "Stop it." He's watching these two fight now. Romeo says, "Gentle Mercutio, put thy rapier up. Put your sword away." Mercutio and Tybalt ignore him and they start fighting even more. Romeo tries to draw his sword and he says, "Draw, Benvolio, beat down their weapons." So he tries to get Benvolio to stop this fighting. "Gentlemen, for shame, give up this outrage. Tybalt, Mercutio, the prince expressly hath forbidden fighting in Verona streets. Hold, Tybalt, hold, Mercutio." So he tries to stop them, tries to get them to stop. So now what happens is Romeo is trying to get them to stop, and we have on one side, so let's use this picture here. We have one side, we've got Tybalt, um, I think this is actually Mercutio, and Tybalt's over here. Romeo's kind of in the middle, and he jumps in and tries to get in the middle of them. And in the middle of them, we're gonna look over here now. So he tries to stop him, and in the middle, Mercutio gets stabbed by Tybalt. So Romeo jumps in between them to break up the fight, and Tybalt ducks under Romeo's arm and stabs Mercutio. So Romeo gets in the middle to try to stop them from fighting, and in doing so, actually causes Tybalt to stab Mercutio under Romeo's arm. So at this point, Tybalt has basically killed Mercutio. Romeo tried to get in the way to stop it from happening, and now Mercutio is about to die, unfortunately. So now Tybalt runs away because he has just stabbed someone, and the Capulets also run away. Mercutio is now dying. Mercutio says, I am hurt, a plague on both your houses. He curses both families. I am finished. Is he gone and hath not a scratch? Benvolio says, What, art thou hurt? Mercutio says, Ay, a scratch, but 'tis enough. Where is my page? Go, boy, fetch a surgeon. So Mercutio is dying. He asks his page to go fetch a surgeon. Benvolio's like, Are you hurt? Are you hurt? And he is about to die. Mercutio's page goes to get a doctor. Romeo says, Courage, man. The wound cannot be great, so hopefully, you didn't get that big of a wound from this fight. This is his friend, and his friend just got stabbed, and now he's dying. You can see a picture of Mercutio here, and he is dying. So he's like, it can't be much of a hurt. I hope that, you're not going to die. Mercutio, being the joker that he is, he makes some jokes as he's dying. He says, No, 'tis not so well, deep as a well, nor so wide as a church door, but 'tis enough, 'twill serve. Ask for me tomorrow, and you shall find me a grave man. This is a pun. So this is a play on words. So he's talking about like a grave man, like you'll find me a very serious man, but he's also saying you'll find me a dead man. Because he's dying. He just got stabbed in the stomach and he is on his way to dying. I warrant I am done for this world, a plague on both your houses. Why the devil came you between us? I was hurt from under your arm. So as he's dying, he's making jokes. He's also putting a plague or a curse on both houses. And he asks Romeo, Why did you come between us? I was hurt under your arm. Romeo says, I thought it for the best. Mercutio says, Help me into some house, Benvolio, or I shall faint. A plague on both your houses. They have made worms meat of me, both your houses. Now Mercutio dies, and he is propped up by Benvolio. So he has died. I just really want to show a little video of this really quick. See if I can get a little video to show what happens. I don't know that the sound will work, but that's okay. Just want you guys to see exactly what happened here. So I'm going to play the clip from the old video and I'll show you how Tybalt killed Mercutio. I think it's like important enough to play a little bit of video. We'll see if it plays. Hopefully. If not, I'll just keep going. Come on. You can do it. Okay. It's trying. Okay. So this is them fighting. And it's very drawn out because it's a movie. So they're obviously going to draw it out a little bit more. So I just realized this is a little bit I just realized this is mm, stop, please. Just realized that's not the right movie. But anyway, so I'll just explain it once more here. I thought that was the right part, but um, Tybalt stabs Mercutio. Romeo gets in the middle. Right after that scene you were just seeing was after Romeo and Tybalt fight. So we're gonna read that now, and I'll play. I could play a little bit more of that. Let me see. Okay, so Mercutio leaves, and then sorry, that video was out of order, but that's okay. Romeo says, "This gentleman, the prince's kinsman, my friend, hath got this mortal hurt because of me." So Romeo, he is reflecting on the fact that he got in the way of Tybalt and Mercutio's fight, and he feels bad because his friend got hurt mortally. So he is dying because of Romeo. He got in the way of their fight. My reputation stained with Tybalt's slander. Tybalt, who hath only been an hour my kinsman, O sweet Juliet, thy beauty hath made me effeminate and softened the steel of my valor. So he is feeling very upset because he just got his friend killed, basically. Now Benvolio comes back alone, and Mercutio has died. Benvolio says, "O Romeo, Romeo, brave Mercutio is dead. That noble spirit hath risen into the clouds, which untimely took him from us." Romeo says, "This day's black fate will darken future days. This but begins the woe others must end." So Mercutio has now died. Romeo is very sad. So is Benvolio. And now Tybalt comes back. Benvolio says, "Here comes the furious Tybalt again." So this guy just killed their friend. So Romeo is going to be very, very upset. Here is the scene that I just played a little bit early by accident. But now, so Tybalt killed Mercutio. This is Romeo's very good friend. So I just showed you a little scene of this. I'm sorry, it was a little bit out of order, but it's okay because now it's caught up. So Romeo then fights Tybalt. And you just saw a little bit of their fight, and then at the end, as you can see, Romeo kills Tybalt. So let's read that part. Romeo says to Tybalt, "Alive in triumph, and Mercutio slain, away respectful gentleness, fire-eyed fury be my conduct now," he says to Tybalt. "Now, Tybalt, call me villain again, as thou didst before, for Mercutio's soul is but a little way above our heads, waiting for thine to keep him company. Either thou or I or both must go with him." So Romeo is upset. His friend just got murdered, and he says to Tybalt, "Either you or me or both of us must go with him." Tybalt answers by saying, "Thou wretched boy that didst consort with him shall go with him hence." Tybalt says, "You're going to be the one that dies." Romeo says, "This shall determine that." Now, Romeo and Tybalt are fighting. That's the scene I just accidentally showed you. I meant to show you the Mercutio and Tybalt scene. I couldn't find it, but I think you get the picture. And so now Romeo fights Tybalt, and Tybalt falls, and Tybalt dies. Here's a picture of him dying. Romeo says, or Benvolio says, "Romeo, away begone, the citizens are about, and Tybalt is slain. Stand not shocked still, the prince will doom thee death if thou art taken. Hence begone away." Benvolio warns Romeo and says, "You better run away. You just killed Tybalt, and the prince is gonna sentence you death if you are discovered. So away and be gone." Romeo says, "Oh, I am Fortune's fool." He regrets immediately killing Tybalt. Remember, Romeo has just killed Juliet's cousin, so this is not good. Benvolio says, why dost thou stay? Like, why are you sticking around? Romeo now escapes. The citizens are up now, and they see that Mercutio has been killed, and they see that Tybalt has been killed. They ask, "Which way ran he that killed Mercutio? Tybalt, that murderer, which way ran he?" So they ask Benvolio, "What happened? What happened to Mercutio? What happened to Tybalt?" Benvolio says, "There lies Tybalt." The prince now enters with Romeo's mom and dad and Juliet's mom and dad. The prince says, "Where are the vile beginners of this fray? Who started this fight that killed people?" Benvolio says, "O noble prince, I can reveal all the unlucky moments of this fatal brawl. There lies the man slain by young Romeo, who slew thy kinsman, brave Mercutio." So Benvolio tells the prince exactly what happened. He says Romeo killed Tybalt, Tybalt killed Mercutio. So it started out by Tybalt killing Mercutio. Romeo came back and killed Tybalt as a result. Lady Capulet, this is Juliet's mother, says, "Tybalt, O my nephew, my brother's son, oh, the blood is spilled of my dear kinsman, Prince, as thou art true, for blood of ours shed blood of Montague." So Lady Capulet comes out and she is upset because her nephew was just killed. And she says, "The Montagues shed our blood." And she asks the prince, "If you are fair, kill Romeo for killing Tybalt." She wants Romeo to be killed. The prince asks Benvolio to clarify what happened at this fight. He says, "Benvolio, who began this bloody fray or fight?" Benvolio tells what happens. He tells everything that happens. He says, "Tybalt, who now lies here slain by Romeo's hand, Romeo had spoken to him gently and urged him to stop the quarrel, reminding him of your displeasure of fighting. Tybalt was deaf to peace. He tilted his piercing steel back at Mercutio's breast, and Mercutio, just as hot, fought back. Romeo cried aloud, 'Hold, friends, friends part!' And swifter than his tongue, his agile arm beat down their points. He rushed between them, and underneath his arm a thrust from Tybalt hit the life of strong Mercutio. Then Tybalt fled, but by and by he came back to Romeo, who had but newly considered revenge, and like lightning they were fighting. Ere I could draw to part them, Tybalt was slain, and as he did fall, did Romeo turn and fly? This is the truth, or let Benvolio die. So he basically tells what happens. So Tybalt wanted to fight Romeo. Romeo said no. Mercutio fought Tybalt instead. So Mercutio and Tybalt were fighting, and Romeo got in between them. And underneath Romeo's arm, Tybalt stabbed Mercutio and killed him. Then Tybalt ran away. Then he came back, and Romeo decided to fight him, and he killed Tybalt and then ran away. Lady Capulet says, "He is a kinsman to the Montague. Affection makes him false. He speaks not true. Some 20 of them fought in this black strife, and all those 20 could kill but one life. I beg for justice, which thou, prince, must give. Romeo slew Tybalt. Romeo must not live." So Juliet's mom says he's lying. Benvolio is lying. Romeo slew or killed Tybalt, and Romeo must now die. The prince says, "Romeo slew Tybalt, Tybalt slew Mercutio. Who now shall pay the price for Mercutio's death?" So the prince says, "Two people have died. Why do more people need to die?" Montague, this is Romeo's dad, says, "Not Romeo, prince. He was Mercutio's friend. His crime was only doing what the law would have done, killing Tybalt." So his dad backs him up, says that he shouldn't die. He was just, avenging the death of his friend. The prince answers Romeo's dad by saying, "And for that offence immediately we do exile him hence. My kinsman bled for your brawl. I shall punish you so heavily that you will all repent for the loss of my cousin. I will be deaf to all pleading and excuses and tears and prayers. Let Romeo hence in haste. If he is found here, that hour will be his last. Bear this body hence. Exempt all." So he says, okay, he killed Tybalt, so now he is exiled from Verona. This means he is banished from Verona. He cannot come back to Verona. He has to leave Verona and never come back. And this is a problem because Juliet, his wife, lives there. He says if he comes back, if he's found, that hour will be his last. So if he comes back to Verona, he will be killed. All right, let's go to our Romeo and Juliet notes, and we're going to take some notes here. So let's just go back a little bit in our slides. I just don't want to forget anything. Okay. So it's a hot day, and Benvolio and Mercutio are hanging in the streets of Verona. Tybalt comes by looking for Romeo and wants to fight. Romeo shows up and denies the fight, and Mercutio and Tybalt start fighting. During Mercutio and Tybalt's fight, Romeo gets in the way and Tybalt stabs Mercutio under Romeo's arm. Out of vengeance, this is going to be a little bit of a long one. Out of vengeance, Romeo then kills Tybalt. Prince finds out, and Romeo is banished from Verona. He has to leave town where his wife lives. Okay, so it's a really good scene. It's like a very, lots of events happen in it. So it's a hot day, and Benvolio and Mercutio are hanging out in the streets of Verona. Tybalt comes around looking for Romeo and wants to fight. Romeo shows up and denies the fight, and Mercutio and Tybalt start fighting. I don't know why it keeps moving. I apologize. During Mercutio, it does not need to keep moving. During Mercutio and Tybalt's fight, Romeo gets in the way, and Tybalt stabs Mercutio under Romeo's arm. Out of vengeance, Romeo then kills Tybalt. The prince finds out, and Romeo is banished from Verona and has to leave the town where his wife lives. If you are interested, I just want to show you that there are some clips of this scene on YouTube. So you can type in, it's going to let me, we'll see, Mercutio and Tybalt fight scene. So you can actually kind of search these things and you can find both. It's going to be really slow because I'm recording. I definitely already typed that. Oh, you gotta love technology, guys. Okay, so you can actually watch these scenes on YouTube. You can also watch. So here is, okay, well, maybe we'll see how long this one is. I do want to show you how, oh, it's a long one. See if I can go forward and show you what happens exactly. We'll see if it works. Okay, yeah, this is the extended scene. See if it works. Come on. Sorry, this video kind of stinks because I'm trying something new where I'm showing you a new scene. I'm not sure if it'll work, but we're gonna try. I'll give it one more minute, and if not, then you guys can look it up on your own. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is Tybalt, and he is fighting Mercutio, and you can see right here, once it starts, Romeo's gonna get in the way. Oh, of course. I think it skipped it. Come on. So this is Tybalt. This is. Oh, okay. It's gonna be weird, I think. They're fighting. Here we go. You'll see it right here. Coming up. So they're fighting, and then Romeo kind of gets in the middle, and Mercutio gets stabbed. Okay, so you just could see it. Romeo got in the middle. So you could see it. Romeo got in the middle and got Mercutio stabbed. Then Romeo goes back and kills Tybalt. Just wanted to show you that real quick. Thanks for watching. Thanks for dealing with my little video mess up. But great job. Let me know if you have any questions. Get these notes down. And good work. See you next